Alright, so I had to take the post on and off about a half dozen times to fit it, but it's looking pretty sexy. So we're digging the holes for the footings for the foundation for the deck here. Code here in Canada is you got to go a minimum of 18 inches deep or until you hit hardpan. Typically hardpan is like the clay, rocky soil. If you look closely, you can see kind of where the dark soil transitions into the harder clay soil at about a foot deep. So we went a good 24 inches deep to get right down so that the footing is below the surface. Then we added about 4 or 5 inches of road base, crushed rock, and tamped that down. And that allows us to have a nice level bottom in the hole. And because I'm lazy, I don't want to build a wood footing. I just buy these elephant foot, whatever they are, pre-made footings, 24 inch. Drop that in the hole. Center it where you want it. The one thing about these flared footings is that they really want to float up on you. So before you pour, like once you have this footing set, you need to backfill like almost right up to the neck of this thing and pack that down, or else the concrete's going to want to just lift this thing right up to the surface. I started pouring one time and they were all starting to float up to the surface. It was a nightmare. And you're probably thinking, okay, well the next step is to add a sono tube, one of those cardboard tubes that comes on here, get you up out of grade. But Samurai likes to do things a little bit differently, so what we're going to do is take a look at this. So to keep with the Samurai style theme here, you can see I've got this boulder, and I'm going to sit this on top of the wet concrete and kind of scribe the top of this plastic chute so that the boulder sits nice and even on there. And then I'm going to drill a hole through the stone and wet dowel this rod through the stone. I'm going to bend a hook on the end, set that down into the concrete all in one unit, and have this rod epoxied in the stone so that they all basically are cast together. And then I'm going to scribe the post for my deck onto this rock. Now this is kind of an ancient tradition used in a lot of cultures, but especially the Japanese temple building. So they would dig a big hole, fill it with stones, pack it down because they didn't have concrete obviously, and then they would have a stone that their post would sit directly on. And so then when the water comes down the post, the stone is round, so the water drains away from the post. So it works really well for preserving the wood from your post, keeping moisture away from it, and it looks really beautiful too. You don't have some ugly round sonotube concrete thing jutting out of the ground. It ties the building together with nature really beautifully. So you're gonna want to stay tuned for this, guys. When you're wanting to do a square off your building, say you're doing some footings for a covered porch or whatever, and your footings are within 8 feet of your building, an easy way to square off of your building without having to set up all sorts of string lines and stuff is just use a sheet of plywood. If you got a scrap sheet, it's nice when they're cut kind of on a diagonal like this, so you got 4 feet and then 8, and you can always rely on a sheet of plywood, because plywood factories, if any factory needs to make sure their product is square, it's a plywood factory, because if they didn't make their sheets perfectly square, they'd be hearing about it awfully quick, right? So I just set that against the foundation there, try and hold it up level. And then I just measure on my plywood where I want my center of my footing to be, make a mark, and you just, measure off of that. Bing, bang, boom, you're good to go. So here's the plan. We got our footing filled up to the top here. I've kind of notched the edge of the plastic here so that the rock sits down evenly on the footing. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to pour a little puddle just in here, and then I'm going to cast the rock into that puddle so that I get a really good kind of form fit. I don't have any gaps or air pockets in here. And I don't care if there's a little bit of soupy concrete around the edge. If that breaks away, it doesn't really matter, because all the weight is going through the rock onto this footing. I just want to get a really nice seal to this footing. So pour a little Little puddle in there like that. This so I don't really care if this pin is plumb at the moment. What I want to have is the rock sloping away, so any water that comes down is going to hit the rock, is going to drain away. And once this concrete sets, before I put my post on here and scribe it on, I can just hit this with a hammer and plumb it out. It'll bend no problem. Not that this amount of rod into the concrete would ever pull out, but it's always good to bend a bit of a hook on it. So the amount of pressure it would take to pull that out as opposed to a straight rod, a lot more. I don't know the exact science, but I just know that makes it stronger. Oriented the way we want. There we go. Okay, the post is in and post is plumb. Yeah. Don't overcomplicate building, guys. You're just making stuff straight and level, square. It's really, the geometry is not that complicated. So I got my Scribe here. This is the Veritas log building Scribe. It's made specifically for scribing, you know, big logs, for building big log homes, but it works for scribing anything. And the pin on here has got a hook edge and a straight edge. So straight point is used for just doing compass work, like drawing circles, arches and stuff. And then this little hooked edge is made for scribing, so that you can get down close and it'll follow the contour of whatever you're scribing, whether it's a plaster wall or column or a rock. So you put that facing down, and then you want to measure your longest gap, wherever your biggest gap is. Right, so my back corner's touching on the rock over here. It's this front corner here that's got the largest gap. So you set your compass to meet that gap, and you want to be holding your scribe or compass. I kind of just call stuff 100 different things, as you know. You want to get it level. This one's got 2 different little bubbles going both directions, so you know you're holding your scribe exactly right the whole way. So once you got that set, you want to watch these bubbles. Keep them in their margins and just roll along the rock on all 4 faces. See, I've got my scribe line right here. I'm just taking my knife. I want to cut that line as best I can. You're probably wondering, how the heck is he going to cut that line? And once you've hugged kind of close to the line, then we move on to this bad boy. This is called the Arbortech carving blade for an angle grinder. I got this at Lee Valley. I think they've changed the design now. This is kind of the older design, but they sell a similar product there still. And this thing is a wood mover. Yes, I know I don't have a guard on, and that's so not safe and whatever. You just use your tools how you want, and I'll use mine how I want. So from there, we just freehand drive it. So defining the edge is kind of the easy part. The tricky part is finding the contour of the rock underneath. So we're going to have to drop this post on to the dowel, bump it up and down a few times so that the rock makes impressions on this end grain here, and then we'll just kind of slowly have to grind and relieve away so that we want to have as much contact with the rock as possible, just to bear the load of the deck. So you can see right there the indent that the rock made. So I'm going to grind a good area around that, so that will be a lot closer there. Alright, so I had to take the post on and off about a half dozen times to fit it, but it's looking pretty sexy. And I don't even have the braces on it. It's sitting nice and plumb. So from there I took my builder's level, shot over against the house, measured down where my framing was going to sit out, transferred that mark onto my post, and then I marked my height. So I'm going to cut my post now, do the same with the other post, install this beam. More like free tutorial Friday. Jeez, there's a lot of golden information in that video if you didn't notice. But that's what happens when you give your attention to the samurai. You just turn into a sexy woodworking beast. The big news for this week is I just learned how to do this YouTube live feature on my YouTube app, where you basically just go live and have a live video, hang out with your audience. So I'm gonna give it a shot this weekend. I'm thinking Saturday afternoon around 4 o'clock. It's not quite happy hour, but why not crack a beer and just hang out with the bros? So this is how YouTube Live works. If you go to the little bell icon that's right next to the subscribe at the bottom of this video page here, you can turn on your push notifications, and YouTube will send you a little message when I upload the video or when I go live. That way you won't miss the videos. So if you want to turn that on so that you get a little ping on your cell phone when I go live, that way you won't miss it, or you can just show up on Saturday, so that's February. So that would be Saturday the 18th at 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. The Samurai is going live. And if you haven't done a live video before, it's kind of cool. I watched this other guy on YouTube do it, and all the comments just kind of scroll right onto the video page. So you can kind of ping and comment, talk directly to me, and I'll see all the comments because I'll be videoing through my phone. So I'll see all the comments kind of showing up right in front of me, and I can either respond to them, and if somebody tries to troll me, I can just lip them off and then ban them, you know, all that sort of fun stuff. And there's also an option called Super Chat, where you guys, if you have like a pressing question or you want some just technical information for me, I'm gonna leave a little segment at the end of the video where you can give a donation, like $1 or $2, and your question will ping to the top of the list of questions. And the bigger the donation you give, your question will stay at the top of the page. And so obviously I'll take as many questions as I can do in like 10 minutes. Just share whatever information I know. That way the channel can make a little bit of money. It helps me keep the channel going. And you guys can get some direct information, direct from the Samurai. It's definitely hard for me to respond to all your emails and all your questions. I try and give as much information as I can and respond to people's emails, but I'm just one guy. And I gotta keep the woodworking coming, so I can't spend all day on the computer responding to people's emails. So I apologize for that, but I will let you know I do read your emails. I do read all your comments. And so I think this YouTube live opportunity that we're gonna do here on Saturday will be actually kind of cool, a really interactive way. It's kind of like having a meet and greet. you know, but you're on the other side of the world. So don't miss Samurai going live Saturday, February 18th, 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And I would say that just about does it for this video. Until next time, Samurai out.